Diogo. And the final question was, what about stimulating demand? And it is a relevant question. Marx institution, the IMF, its acronym is often deciphered as it's mainly fiscal because of the emphasis it puts on fiscal prudence. But fiscal prudence has an impact on private capital markets. There is a link. So what about stimulating demand, Mateusz?
So I can answer this question from two different angles. First, when we talk about demand, what comes to our minds is probably the stimulus packages all over the world. And I'm not so much in favor of the next round of stimulus packages in this Keynesian and non-Keynesian discussion, which is now happening. I think that what has been done was necessary to calm down the situation after the Lehman collapse 2 years ago. But really the programs like Cash for Clunkers in the States, in Germany, and in several other countries in Western Europe, or cash for environmentally friendly equipment. This is borrowing demand from future, so to say, and this is not a long-term viable strategy. So rather than tackling the demand from the demand point of view, I would think about measures to stimulate supply and supply side of the economy. So that's one part of the answer. But the other one, as we are at Wroclaw Global Forum, and the stress is on global, I would like to say a couple of words about the global solution, which is very much needed for the demand in the world. And this is the famous American-Chinese discussion right now about the currency and currency depreciation, currency appreciation. We have to bear in mind that actually what is happening right now, it is the biggest flow of money from the poor country to the rich country, or from poorest countries in the world to the richest countries in the world in the history of the human race. The money flows over the last 5-10 years enormously from China and Southeast East Asia and oil producing countries to Western Europe and to the United States. And this has to be dealt with because it's at the same time a huge shift, artificial huge shift in demand from Western countries, from the United States to China and Southeast Asia. And unless we deal with this factor, the dire straits in the world economy will deepen. Because look at what is happening in the economies which do not manipulate with their currencies, like Brazil, one of the BRIC, a fantastic development over the 2008 and 9 and up to first half of 2010. But now they encounter difficulties because the Brazilian real, their currency, appreciated by 40% towards the US dollar over the last 2 years, comparing to the Chinese renminbi, which appreciated only by 2.5% over the last 2 years. So this is an unnatural, artificial shift of demand, and we need to deal with this quite quickly. And I believe that the United States and America and Canada and Western European countries, the European Union, have to tackle this problem in a common, in a joint way. We need to. This is a situation right now, a very dangerous situation. If this continues, then there will be all the imbalances in the world, which are visible right now, they will be growing. They will not disappear. We can do whatever we want in order to stimulate innovation, which was an important topic of today's panel. But this will not cater for the huge billions of dollars of demand shifted to Southeast Asia. Just to give you a flavor of a couple of figures, China buys $1 billion every day for last 5 years of American bonds or the Western European bonds. And they sterilize this in order not to create inflation, because this could be dealt with also through the inflationary pressures and inflationary stimulus in China or in Vietnam and so on. But they don't allow for this because they sterilize this. They buy this, and their foreign currency reserves are now 2.5 trillion US dollars, which is half of their GDP. It's the biggest accumulation of foreign currency reserves and biggest accumulation of assets in the human history again. Okay, so talking about demand and talking about global shifts in demand, apart from the stimulating supply side of the economy, I believe that over the next 6-12 months, you will hear more and more about this growing issue and growing tensions and actually artificial move of demand to Southeast Asia from Western economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we had a great and interesting discussion. I kept on thinking during this panel about the idea that Gideon Rachman floated a couple of weeks ago, when he said that 9/15 will prove to be more important than 9/11. So the failure of Lehman Brothers will have a more long-lasting and profound impact than the attack on the United States, which when you first read it, it is shocking. What could be more fundamental than 9/11? But then again, the jury is still out. He might well be right. It's in our hands, in the hands of our panelists to a large extent, to decide. What I know for sure is that 9/15 will materialize as a turning point only if we give ground to the doomsayers, because 9/15 this is the negative, the pessimistic message that the crisis will change the world we live in irrevocably. So what is today, 7th of October? I hope that 10/7 will prove to be a more important turning point as we identify the new sources of growth, new sources of optimism.